Welcome, everyone. Nice to have you back. We have a full room, and that's exciting to have a full room. We know that when you get here, we're done.
It's time to start right now.
So, all right. Well, let me start with a story. So a number of years ago, I was asked by a friend of mine who was a sales manager to come and talk to to coach one of her salespersons, Bruce. And Bruce had been one of their top salesperson and slowly had been dribbling off and wasn't as effective anymore. So I sat down with Bruce and he was very enthusiastic. He said, "Oh, I'm really excited about having a chance to meet with you." He said, "I brought along a tape recorder." This was so long ago, we still had little tape recorders with little mini micro cassettes before digital. And he said, "I want to talk with you." And he said, "I'm going to record our meeting. Is that okay?" I said, "That would be great." He said, I really want to hear what you have to say." So I asked Bruce one question and he talked for 45 minutes. And so he said, "Well, our time is up." And, he said, "Well, what do you want me to do?" I said, "Listen to that tape." I said, "The secret to your sales problem is on that tape." He goes, "Really?" "Yeah." I said, "Absolutely." He said, so I said, "We'll meet next week." So we got together next week. I said, "How'd it go?" He goes, "Well, I listened to the whole tape." He said, "But you didn't say anything." I said, "Okay, well, so did that tell you anything?" He said, "Well, I really want to hear what you have to say." I said, "That's great." I said, he said, "Well, let me turn on my tape recorder." And he did. And I said, "Okay." I asked him one question and he talked for 45 minutes. And so he said, "Well, what do you want me to do?" I said, "Listen to that tape. The secret to your problem is on that tape." And he came back the next week and he said, he said, "You didn't say anything." I said, "Does that tell you?" He says, "No." So I said, "Bruce, you don't know when to shut up anymore." I said, you don't listen to your clients anymore. You're too busy knowing everything." Well, he didn't want to talk to me anymore. After that, we were done and he got fired because his problem was he didn't ask questions anymore. He knew everything about the business. And this is the problem sometimes of being an experienced salesperson, is that the more we know, the more we want to tell. The more we want to tell, the less we want to listen. And so sometimes when we're new and we don't know anything and we have nothing else to do but ask questions, then we start asking questions. And so our speaker today is going to talk to us about how to ask more effective questions. He's going to do a talk called Conducting Insightful Needs Analysis. I am a proponent. This is the most important step of the sale. This is without a doubt the most important thing you can learn, is how to ask good, insightful, quality, clarifying questions. And if you choose not to do that, you're going to talk. And when you talk, you're not listening, you're not learning, you're not finding out what the customer needs. He helps run Southwestern Consulting, which is the speaking, training, and coaching division of Southwestern Family Companies. He's a partner that has helped over 120 certified. He leads this group of 125 certified professional sales and leadership coaches around the world, of companies for over 9 years, with 17 years of experience, sales experience himself. He's consistently in the top 5% for sales and revenue and was number one in 2021. So you're talking with somebody who not only teaches about selling, but actually does it, which is always kind of nice. He's a marathoner, a mountain climber, loves all types of exercise, a dad of 3, Jack 16, and Hudson 1. So he likes spacing things out. Very methodical, every 7 or so years. So coming up, who could care less about any accolades, but just love being with them. Brent's about growth, serving others, and having a great time while doing it. Welcome, Brent Widman.
Has anybody ever heard of, I'm going to start there. Anybody ever heard of Southwestern at all? What have you heard, if I can ask?
I believe you guys got your start selling Bibles door to door.
Yeah. So the 165-year history is selling Bibles to Civil War vets is what it was. So now what we're best known for, the longest history is, we take these college kids every summer, ship them down to Nashville because we're based out of Nashville, thousands of them. And then we send them out across the country and they have to knock on doors from 7:59 in the morning till 9:30 at night, Monday through Saturday, selling educational books. So if you ever have somebody knock on your door, just let them in. Lemonade, whatever it is, cookies, something, because they're doing this. Also, they're doing it for 13 weeks over the summer. So I'll give you an example. My wife did it. She actually did it for 6 years and built a team of about 20 people. And I'm just going to say this, her concept of money is a little different than other people's, because she's never in her life made less than $100,000. Because she did this for 80 hours a week, and that's the kind of money they make. That on up, just think of that. And they're not going back to, like, I wouldn't get to go to Minnesota I have to go to the backwoods of Alabama or Arkansas, and then I gotta go knock on your door and ask if I can live with you for the next 13 weeks. That's where it starts. So that's kind of background, I guess, put it that way. We have different entities like Southwestern Investments, Southwestern Real Estate, that type of, we partner with the Pat Summit Foundation. I'm from Southwestern Consulting, public speaking, training and coaching division. That's part of what we're going to talk about today is some of the best tools, tips and techniques that have worked for that 160 plus years. First thing I'm going to ask you to do though is I need you to stand up. Can I move this?
Yeah.
All right. Got to take a look at the person on our right. Behind you, whatever you want to do, take a good hard look. Now look back at the person on your left. Take a good look at them. Now here's the hard part. You gotta look back at the better looking of the two. Hey, don't look at me. Don't look at what? Sit down.
Should have been on the end like you.
I like it when it gets a little more uncomfortable. I love it. So we are going to talk about asking more effective questions, listening, that type of thing. So let me make sure I'm in the right room. We all salespeople?
Yeah.
Let's try this again. We all salespeople?
Yes.
Yes. So if I can give you a tool that you walk out of here and it helps you add value, and it helps you make money, will you use it?
Yes.
All right, nice work. I thought I was gonna have to ask that question again. That's part of what this is about. So I'm gonna fire through a little bit the cycle of the sale, like Bill talked about a little bit, just so you know probably what you talked about last month, and then what we're gonna talk about going forward as well. So when you take out those sheets of paper, right? Did everybody get one of those? I used to do a different presentation, but I thought, do something to write on, that kind of thing. Let's go back to, again, here's all I want you to do with these, is rip these puppies in half. A long way, by the way. I've had people do it. Well, you told me.
Thinking outside the box.
Okay. When you look at, who's my least tenured person? Who's been, got to touch on YouTube probably, maybe. How long have you been in sales?
2 years.
2 years?
4 years.
4 years?
Well, I'm technically customer service, but 4 years.
4 years, so anywhere from 2 to probably more than 2 years.
Yes.
bit more?
But I was a consultant, so.
Okay.
3 years, right, Ron?
Different for 18 years.
Okay. Who's the longest tenured person?
Same as you, 160.
And I do want this to be an open forum too, by the way. How long have you been in sales, if I can ask?
About 25.
25? Okay. So anywhere probably from 2 to 25, 30 years. The thing that we see so much when people get into sales, like Bill talked about, is when you first get into it, you do a lot of training, development. You yearn to learn and that kind of thing. And there's probably 2 types of people that walk into these meetings every month. And there's the ones that go, what are they going to teach me? What are they going to teach me? I want them to teach me something. And there's the other ones. And this is what I would encourage you to do. Walk in here and go, what am I going to learn? Because when you open your mind about what am I going to learn, what am I going to take away, it changes the way you look at it. Now you're not looking for somebody just to tell you how to do something. So if we go through the cycle of the sale, this is the 7 lines actually on the back. You can write these down for me as well. And then the effective questions, I'm going to go through a couple techniques as well, and that is clasp. And then I'll give you a Grow VP right on the front too. But can anybody tell me what the pre-approach is? Research. When I get a referral, do I ask, what is that person like? Are they more laid back? Are they more straight to the point? What do they like to do in their free time? One of the questions I love to ask is, what is the most successful thing about them? What do you see as the most, why did you choose them? Do we ask these questions? Well, first, let me ask this. How many of us ask for referrals? How many of us ask for referrals from everybody we're in front of? Okay. If we don't, why don't we?
We don't think we're far enough in the sale yet.
Perception? What?
We don't think we're far enough in the sale. We haven't created enough credibility.
Not enough credibility? Perception? What do you mean by perception?
Well, in terms of asking for a referral, like, I'm looking at it as, if I talk to someone and I think, well, they're involved in this and that and this and that, and I go, they probably won't have what I'm looking for.
So you're putting your perception onto them,
Right,
is
right.
what you're saying.
Right.
just think it's a discipline. If you're not consistently applying that as part of the sales process.
That's part of, how many of us say we run out of time? It's because we're not smart enough to be dumb enough not to have to think about it. It's not our process. How many of us practice our referral language? When was the last time you took 2 minutes out of your day and practiced your referral language? Do we do that? What do you think that would do to your business? When you walk out of here, you take one thing with you and you take 2 minutes as you're driving to work, or maybe you're up in the morning and you can talk to yourself. As long as you don't talk back, you're doing okay. But we can do these things. Like, this is the stuff that top producers do differently than everybody else. Because we didn't get into sales to hear no's all the time, did we? Like, that gets hard. But if we're asking and we're doing the pre-approach and then the approach, that's your 7 seconds. You have 7 seconds to make a good first impression. On average, if we make a bad first impression, we need 10 touches to get that back. How often does that happen? Not very. Then we get into our introduction. That's what we call it. We can call it needs analysis, whatever you want, but you're going to hear me refer to it as introduction. I'm going to ask you to put a little 65% right beside that or above it, sheet of paper. So that would be number 3. That's all I'm doing. 65% of your cycle of sales should be spent right here. This is your questioning. This is your qualifying. This is your probing. This is that needs analysis. What do you think we should be doing in the needs analysis? What is the most important thing we should be doing here? Listening? I'll give you that. I was looking for something else, but yeah.
Asking good questions, like qualifying, asking.
Qualifying?
Yeah.
What do people buy on?
Yeah.
Emotion. What do they back it up with? Where do we create an emotion?
In the introduction.
Right there. I'll give you an acronym. Maybe I'll help you just to listen. Because it's funny you talked about that, Bill. I had an interview the other day. Same thing happened to me, man. I asked the guy one question a minute in, and he talked for the next 43 minutes straight. And then he sent me an email afterwards. He's like, oh, that was really great. Thanks for the conversation. When can we talk again? Like, you're probably not the best person to do coaching if you're just talking the whole time. That's part of the introduction. So the acronym SUAL. SUAL. And all that stands for is shut up and listen. That's it. This is where we're creating emotion. Where the majority of us spend our time in the presentation. Because what are we taught? Like we were talking about, Kathy, what are we taught? Facts, features, functions, product, everything I can do for you, because we know what they need. We've been doing this long enough that we know what they need. If we just tell them, is that logical or is that emotional? Logical. So then we get into our close, which you're going to get into, I believe, is it a couple months? One of the things I see is, can I set this here? We get a lot of people that get in or get into coaching, that kind of thing, and they'll say, well, I want to get really good at the close. Where do you think closing happens? Auction. Right here. So if we're asking, all closing is, it's a series of questions leading somebody to make a decision. It's not a good thing. It's not a bad thing. But I bet when it's time to close, if I took your blood pressure, what typically happens? It does. But if we're just doing these things throughout, I'm going to talk about this. We want to create that abundance mentality. It's okay if they say yes, and it's okay to say no. I want to let them know it's okay to do that. Then we get into our objections. Obviously, we stay in that dance for a while, so we'll talk about how to overcome those before they happen. And like we talked about, what is the most essential part of your cycle of the sale? And put the most essential. This is where we spend the most time. This is what we should do. How many of you, I'm gonna go back to the referral piece for a second. How many of you feel like you're pretty damn good at what you do?
Expand.
Let me rephrase the question. How many of you know you're going to add value to everybody you sit down with? So if we're not asking for referrals we can take that word because that scares people at times. If we're not asking for favorable introductions, you can call it whatever you want. Is that on us or is that on them? What are we thinking about? See what I mean? Because if we're really thinking about them, it doesn't matter if they say yes or no, or I can't think of anybody, or I'll figure it out, that type of thing. Because we're asking not just to help them out, but the people behind them as well. That's all that is. We're giving them an opportunity. Giving them an opportunity. That's it. All right. So we're going to get into this. And the reason I put this here, I want to touch on this because I know we talk about time management. So there's really two things that we really add value. And the first one is time. How many of us wish we had more time back in our day? Most of us. That's what this is going to help. We take time in the morning to plan our day. We do that, or do we just kind of wing it throughout the day? Because if I walk into an appointment and I know who I'm going to have a conversation with, I know who I'm going to talk to, I know what that's going to look like, what do you think that changes in our mindset? That's being prepared. Every morning, I take my, call it Brent time, call it whatever you want, from about 6 in the morning till about 6:45 till I go get caught up. And that's my time to do email. That's my time to look at my day. That's my time to look at, like today, who are you gonna ask for referrals? Who are my conversations with? The lunch I'm having, what are we gonna talk about? Those types of things. You take that little time in the morning just to look at your day. But we don't look at that as an income producing activity. Anybody tell me the 3 things we can control every day in our business? Any idea?
Attitude.
Attitude,
Effort.
effort, so activity, spot on. What's the last one?
How to spend your time.
Schedule. Everything we say yes to, we say no to something else. The reason I'm leading into this is because this is part of the introduction. This is part of the needs analysis. If we're not planned and we just walk in and wing it, what questions are we asking? Are we really digging in with people? Are we talking about what they want, or are we talking about what we know and we're going to tell them almost what we want at times? So do we have a process around, if I go into an appointment, if I'm on the phone or I have a conversation with somebody, do I have a process around which I'm using? Do I have specific questions that I'm asking? Do any of us have that? Kind of, sort of? It's okay. I'm not here to pick on you. Circle of trust, we'll call it that. Okay? That's where I want to give you some of these things to help you out. So just basic steps is what we're going to talk about. All right, you can write this wherever you want. There's no reason I gave you the handout because we are going to go through class. The front page you can write all over. The needs analysis. The best salespeople that I have seen, they're the best at asking questions. They just are. I was doing a training for Downtown Resource, or a real estate company downtown. Obviously, that's why they call it Downtown Resource. And questions, I was asking them about them, what's important to them and what they want to do. And the dude turned around on me and goes, every time I ask you questions, you don't answer me, turn it around on me. Because what do we want to do? I don't need to tell them about my kid. Well, you know what I mean, kids and family and how great we are and that type of thing. If somebody asks me, so tell me about what you do. My first response is, can I ask you a couple of questions first to see exactly what you're looking for? First response. What do you think they're gonna say? Sure. They're not gonna go, no, I really want you to tell me about you. It just doesn't happen. These little tweaks, that if we do these things, that it's gonna help our business. That's where the time comes in. So the things I'm gonna talk about, and what I mean by using names. So to go back to the book kid analogy. When the book kids knock on door, if they knock on my door, do you know what they're looking for? They're looking for any kids that are in the neighborhood, because who buys educational books? Parents. Who do you think they're asking for in every neighborhood? Yep. And then they go to that parent and they say, hey, I was just with Bill down the street, and this is what we talked about, and this is kind of what he did for their kids. Are they dropping names or are they using names? Because using names builds trust. The difference between dropping names, you see what I'm saying here? Between, well, I was working with Bill and John and Bob and Tim, and they all did, that's dropping names. Yeah, man, I was down with Bill, and you can tell how much he really cared about his kids and his family. Talked about the books, or whatever it is. Whatever you do you have people that you've helped out before? Am I off on this? Been there 2 years. Have you sold anything ever? Okay. So you've helped somebody out in the past. You can use that going forward. That's all that means. Okay. All right. But never ask, you know this, never ask what you can tell. You can say, I'm gonna breeze past that because that's pretty easy. So step one of doing a good appointment, eliminate distractions. How many of us go to appointments or have somebody come to you? Do that? Or do we do it on the phone? Both? All? Phone? 90% phone. So who are my phone people? What are your distractions when you're on the phone?
Your email.
Yep. What else?
Coworkers.
That works. Coworkers, dogs. What else?
Your dog is our coworker.
That's true. That's probably a good point. Any other things that you can think of? So if I'm working from home, it's family, it's dogs. If I'm in an office, it's maybe the door, it's the internet, it's my phone, it's email. Lock it out. Is the internet gonna make, and I'm gonna go back to money, you'll hear me talk about it a bit, but why do we get in sales? Do we get in sales because it's awesome to get beat up once in a while? What is the #1 profession that you can make the most unlimited amount of money that you can make?
Sales.
Yeah, right. If you do it right, you can do it. Okay. That's part of eliminating distractions. That's all it is. Sorry, I went back for a second. For each meeting, think about that for a second. So if I take something as trivial as if I go in and meet with, or if I go to a Panera, I'll say the first thing, don't ever meet somebody at a Caribou or a Starbucks. Do you know why?
Damn espresso machine.
What are you gonna hear the whole time? What did he do as soon as he heard, what did you do as soon as you heard stuff outside of the door?
Snuck out and shut the doors.
Eliminated distraction. Natural tendency, wasn't it? You've done it before. That's what we have to do on a day-to-day basis. Eliminate that. If I'm sitting down with somebody and there's a window right here, where do you think I should sit? I want to look out the window, because what happens if they're looking out the window?
They're distracted.
It's little things like this, even being on the phone, and I've caught myself doing it before, believe me. Whether you're looking something up or you're not. I went so far, if you saw my office, I work from home too. So I didn't teach my dogs, I taught my kids how to knock on the door first. That's my space, man. When I walk in there, like the switch flips, compartmentalization happens. Whatever happened out here doesn't matter anymore. It's what happens in here. Because is the internet gonna make you money? Is your phone gonna make you money? Are your kids gonna make you money? Probably not. That's how we eliminate it before meetings. It's these little things that we have to recognize. Even when you sit down with somebody. So let's say you go into a boardroom and you sit down with somebody, where should you sit? Can you tell me that?
Well, actually, you're supposed to be as close to them as possible.
Spot on.
Yeah.
If I sit right here across from you, what does that feel like? If I sit here, we're friends, we're having a conversation. If I sit here, what do you think happens? Yeah. We want to sit beside them. That's part of the introduction that we don't think about because we think about questions and all this. It's these little things. You saw me move the lantern or lantern? Lantern. You want to listen to somebody do this the whole time? See what I mean? Like that, there's a barrier in between us. Eliminate the barriers. Have a conversation with that person. That's what changes things. So when we get on the phone, what's the first or second thing that we say? Or do we just kind of wing it? If you don't know what you're going to say, I would encourage you, one of the planning things you do in the morning, you don't have to do it forever, but write down the 2 or 3 things, the 2 or 3 questions that you're going to ask. Because why do people get call reluctance? Any idea?
I don't know what to say.
Spot on. We don't know what we're going to say. And then we get the fear in our head of, oh gosh, this is going to be awkward because it's awkward. That's all it is. But when you know what you're going to say, you know the questions you're going to guide them to, it takes these things out of the equation. Okay? Eliminate distractions. Place yourself to face that distraction or not have to worry about it. Obviously, you don't have to write all this down, but I think you know what I'm saying there. So think of the appointments that you do when you walk out of here, those appointments that you're doing, what are those little tweaks that we can change? This is the difference from going, I'm just going to say it, from going from a sales girl or a sales boy to a saleswoman or a salesman. These are the little things that we do. We are in this profession that, as we were talking about, how many of us get training and development on a given day? 1, 2?
Apparently not, apparently not as much as you thought.
You have to seek it on your own sales. One of the things I've learned over my years in careers that sure they put you through to teach you about the product, they put you through to teach you about what you're supposed to say about their product. But the day-to-day support and the day-to-day piece isn't there. It's more of what did you sell today? And oh, by the way, it's January, you're back at 0. So it's different. It's not the same as, other groups within your organization may have different training opportunities and things. You have to seek it out yourself. It's really a profession where you have to make sure you're developing yourself because most of the time organizations don't really develop their salespeople. That's been my experience.
There's some out there that do.
Some.
And that's why you should be a gold member of PSA.
Oh my gosh, that was
Anything I can do to help?
So 175 a month or 175 a year?
year
Did I say a month?
No, it was up there. It said 175.
Oh,
for the year.
whole year.
Can I do a contest? Is that all right?
Oh,
Sure.
I don't know if this will work, but do you see this sheet for referrals? Because I gotta ask, right?
Oh, yeah.
What I usually go in and talk to is a sales team of 3 to 5 people and above. I'll do a drawing for anybody who writes 2 or more people up. And I will sponsor at least 3 people to be in PSA for the gold member. Free. That worked? Anybody you want to come with you? Okay. That worked?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
I believe in this so much that you are giving people this opportunity. And I met Jay Anderson, door to doc or whatever the heck it is, way back. And I went into his company. And their sales meetings are exactly that. Well, tell me what you have in the pipeline today.
Yep.
Who'd you go see? What about goal setting and vision and time management and closing and objections and referrals and getting past fear and confidence, and social media and all these different things that we can help people with? That's what we need to do. How many of us read every day? Love it. There's, well, let's date ourselves, CDs, DVDs, coaches, trainers, seminars, mentors, Audible, podcast, books, all these things that we can do to make ourselves better. Because it goes back to what we said, we have doctors and lawyers and accountants, all these people that spend thousands of dollars on themselves to make themselves better. But what do salespeople do? We wing it. We wing it. I would encourage you to seek stuff like this out because it's only going to make you better. And the thing about reading books, I'll tell you this too. You can't just read the book and tell somebody you read the book. You got to implement the stuff in the book. If anybody, I'll tell you this too. If anybody wants my book list, I'll send it to you. I'll give you my phone number right now. You can just text me. 507 382 7641. Or if you fill out those sheets, you can just put book list on it. There's probably 50 or 60 on there. Yeah. So include names. And I'm not going to go deep into this, but names are one of the most powerful things that you can. You need some. Did you? Oh, was I don't know.
Just your area code.
What's that?
Your area code.
Oh, 507. I'm from Round Lake. Anybody ever heard of Round Lake, Minnesota? We'll count of 400 people. Yeah. I can't change the number now. Mom and Dad at beach.
Mankato.
I went to college in Mankato, actually. So it's about an hour south of Mankato. Yeah. When I talk, it's one of the things I want to encourage you if you walk out of here with one thing again. I want to say figure out how to use names. Stories sell. Have 3 go-to stories that we can use. When you write down 3 stories that you've helped somebody with in the past, because we overthink this at times. I would bet you that if you went back through past people that you've helped or talked to or that have done business with you, I'm going to venture to say you can find 3 people. And if we just write down their names, here's the thing, we got to practice that story too. How many of us take time to practice our skill? You do that? I think Tom Brady just walks on the field and goes, oh, let's see what happens today. We'll figure it out. Or does he practice? Practice and practice. That's what's going to build this. So if you're not where you want to be, if you aren't where you want to be in your life, as we talk about these things, write down some of this stuff. Like if I just, how many of us have our goals written down? Kinda. If I asked to see your goals right now, would you be able to show me? Unless, okay, if you haven't done that, number one thing you want to start with is your goals that you want to accomplish in the next year. So if you look out at the end of this year, well, what I'm saying is to the end of October of next year, and you look back, what are those things you want to accomplish? Where do you want to be? What do you want to do? Because if you don't have goals and you don't have a vision, how can you get there? These are the things that feed into it. Okay? All right. So uncovering the need. We're going to get into this. I'm going to get into that. I'm going to get into a concept called clasp, which is hopefully going to help you. But people will not buy from you if they don't know yet. They don't have a need for it. But we have to uncover that. So think of clasp as like a watch or a bracelet. It's a loose agreement to do business. All it is, it's a series of questions. Go back to the closing concept. It's a series of questions leading somebody to make a decision. What are some of the biggest objections? Either we're on the phone or we're in front of somebody. What are some of the biggest objections we hear on a daily basis?
Budget.
Budget? Cost? Budget, cost? I mean, what else? Happy. I'm happy with, I got a guy, got a girl, happy with who I have.
Not sure they really have a problem.
Okay, we haven't uncovered a need, so they don't know yet. Anything else? I need to talk to so-and-so. Do we ever hear that?
Yeah.
Spouse, boss, whatever it is, that type of thing. Any other ones? Probably the most fun. If I give you a tool to help you get past that, will you use it? Let's try this again.
Yes.
I can give you a tool to help you get past that. Will you use it?
Yes.
Yes. So again, think of this. This isn't a 100%. I'm going to close. But this is a closing technique, is all it is. If your closing technique, if you look forward thinking, is actually an introduction, needs analysis, that. So currently, who are you currently working with? What does this solve? You got a guy, got a girl. They're gonna tell us, because when you walk out this door, you have competition, don't you? We all do. So who are they currently working with? What do you like about them? What do they do really well? Why'd you go with them in the first place? And why do we want to know this? Any idea?
Understand what the initial problem was that they're trying to solve and to understand that.
They're gonna flat out tell us how they want to be sold, aren't they?
I think also then it allows you to ask what don't you like questions without seeming to just be one-sided.
You're like, this all sounds good. What's the problem?
Yeah. So yeah. Tell me your problem so I can sell you something.
Right.
If I ask you what you like about who you're currently doing business with, it's disarming in many ways.
Building rapport. That's it. Why don't salespeople ask this question?
I think it reinforces that relationship.
Because if AJ is telling me all the great things that Knowles or John or whoever is doing for me, I'm sitting there going, well, why are you gonna work with me? Goes back to what Bill just said. Is there anything you would alter or change? If I put that up right away, if I say, so who are you working with? What do you wish they did differently? My wall is gonna go up. I'm good. I just want to hear what you had to say. If I say, Kathy, who are you working with? What do you really like about them? Why'd you go with them in the first place? What do they do? Tell me about them a little bit.
Interject something. One tool I found to be very useful is to overplay who they're currently using. Oh, I've heard about that company. That is one of the greatest companies I've ever heard of. And once you do that, then they'll say, well, yeah, but if you say they're a lousy company, then they'll defend them. If you say they're a great company, then they'll come back and say, yeah, they've been pretty good, but here's a couple of things I don't like.
What I liked is when you framed, instead of just saying, what do you like about them? Why did you originally choose them? Because that's like a past action and they're in a different place now. Things have changed. You're assuming things have changed.
They're sitting down with you for a reason. You can either go in and tell them how great you are, or you can figure out what that reason is. That's what you just said. Go back to what you said. Oh, tell me that again. Oh, never badmouth somebody. Never. That's what happens when you badmouth somebody. The interview I had the other day. You know what we need in sales, and what we need is people are really bad at communication. They are just bad at communication. I'm like,
As in they don't talk enough.
just a blanket statement for everybody. And you just go, like you can pick that out. And if you come in and badmouth, what do you think they're gonna say about you? Yeah, leave that out of the equation. I go the whole other path like you just talked about is, man, they're really good company. Good for you. What did you like about them? Tell me about them a little bit. What do they do for you? Why have you stuck with them for so long? Is there inevitably what typically happens because they're sitting with you as we move into this, we oftentimes don't even have to ask this question. Here's what CPR stands for. You're gonna like this. I'm gonna ask you to write this down. You can put it wherever you want. So CPR is cut open the wound, pour in the salt, and remedy the situation. So what are we doing when we're cutting open the wound? Tell me more about that. Why is that so important to you? That's when we're digging in. That's that salt. And we're listening, huh? We ask those second level questions. What do you think the remedy is? I can help you out with that. Are you open to having a conversation? Are you open to sitting down with me? Most people will, they're at least at that time. So this goes back to time management. When we ask these questions, does it save us the time to sit down with somebody that we know is not a good prospect for us anyway? Because how many times do we get into a meeting and we sit down with somebody and at the end of it, they say, well, I need to talk to so-and-so.
Right.
Now's not the time. We can qualify that in 3 to 5 minutes. But we hold on to this false sense of hope that this person's gonna do business with us. And then we call them 3, 4, 5, 10 times, trying to get them back on the calendar, to get back in front of them. And how much time have we just wasted if we would have just asked a few questions ahead of time? Isn't that crazy? When we do these things, it can change your whole business. But we get so excited about that appointment. You know, we do. It's natural tendency. But now we know, like if I would have taken another interview with that guy, not only did I don't want to say waste, that sounds really bad, but 45 minutes. But then if I do another one, I just wasted another hour. Anybody in here know what your time is worth? Ever sat down to figure that out? I want to make it easy. You make $100,000 a year, you're making about $50 an hour. 200, 100, so on and so forth. I'm going to use 50 because it's easy. So if you go to an appointment, how long do your appointments usually take? An hour or $50? Maybe we have to drive there. How long would that take? Half hour?
Yeah.
20 minutes? So now at what, $75? Then we got to go back. So now at $100. Plus we had to do our due diligence ahead of time. We got to put the notes in after, maybe do a little follow-up. So now let's call it $125. You do that twice a week, where are we at?
Wasting.
250? Do that 4 times a month, twice a week. What are we at? $1,000? So $1,000. If I gave you $12,000 right now, would you ask these questions? Do you see what I mean? See, I just, you're gonna laugh at this. You see what I just did there? Cut open your wound, I poured in your salt, didn't I? Just ask the question. So signer, obviously we're not saying who's the signer. I know this is a pretty important decision. Who else needs to be in? Something that simple. You can phrase it however you want. Something that easy. That's all we have to do. Please just paint the picture. Most of us do this already. But it sounds like you're currently working with so and so. What you really like about them is this and this. What you wish they did differently is this and this. If I can help you out with that, would you be open to sit down with me? Does anybody else need to be there? Who else is in on this decision? Here's the thing, to do it the first couple times, it's gonna take, I'm just gonna do it. And then as you start doing it, what happens? Normal, I'm confident. You start to see little tendencies of what people say and how they say it, that type of thing. But what happens if you don't start? You don't answer that question. Little things like that. All right. Go ahead.
So if you could clarify for me, it seems like we've kind of gone back and forth, whether this clasp is used during a prospecting call or whether it's used during an appointment.
I do it in 2 different types, okay? I do it in the initial call, but I also do it in a qualifying call, okay? So we do a, just for, well, if I'm somebody give me a business you're in. Banking, okay. So if you qualify somebody ahead of time, do they call you or do you call them? Call them. You call them, okay. What do you want to know before you sit down with them?
Who they know, what they do, their background. You know, you can probably figure out where they went to school, what activities they're involved in.
Keep going. What else? Why are they calling you? Or why are you calling them? What do you really want to sell them? My services.
Money,
That's what I'm asking. Yeah. Okay. Why would they work with you?
because they're not getting to where they want to get with their current bank.
Okay. How do we dig into that?
Well, kind of the route that you went down is what are you happy with? What are you not happy with? Why is your bank not, why are you meeting with me? What is your current banking not providing for you?
I'll take that to the next level. Tell me more about that. Why is that so important to you? So for you, it would be in the initial call. For other people, it might be, like for me, I do workshops, but we do a customization call ahead of time. That's where I'm creating emotion and digging in with people. Because if they're not willing to give me everything, and I'm just gonna use an example. If I go in with a real estate company, ABC Real Estate, and that branch manager isn't willing to invest in their team or talk to them or that kind of thing, do you think I'm gonna go drive an hour to do that workshop for an hour and a half or 2 hours and then drive home for another hour, take 4 hours out of my day, plus the call, plus you see what I'm saying? That just costs, we don't think of it that way because we get excited to do that appointment. Well, somebody might say yes. But if we start eliminating the people, and I don't want this to sound bad, so don't take, you see what I'm saying here? I don't want it to be like, well, don't talk to these people. But what happens is we get that, anybody here play poker or cards or anything like that? You ever win once when you lose a lot of other times? But you remember the one time? That's all I'm going with that. We don't change everything for an anomaly. Long-winded answer to your question. It can be the 3 to 5 minutes on a phone, or it's a qualifying appointment in person. That's okay too. That's second or third, that type of thing. Or you ask them to come to you. So now you're taking that half hour out of the equation. How many times have you done that? That's confidence. If I'm a banker, I sit in a bank or what have you, come on in. Maybe not hanging out with my dogs, but does that help at all? Answer the question? That's part of it. So people love to buy. They do not like to be sold. They do not like to be sold. That's why we ask these questions. That's why that introduction phase or needs analysis is so important. Because if I just talk to you for 45 minutes, what am I doing? I'm selling you. How long did it take you to glaze over when you had that conversation? Probably not very long, I'm guessing.
I hate it when they fall asleep on you too.
So what we call the buying atmosphere. Do we know what the buying atmosphere means? Anybody? It means it's okay to say yes, but it's also okay to say no.
Integrity agreement.
Yes. It's, again, like for our business, if I go in and speak, I'll talk about coaching, okay? At the end of the hour, I'm gonna talk about coaching. Some of you are gonna have a gut feeling this is for you, some of you aren't. Still gonna love you when you walk out. Do they know it's okay to say no now? Like, I'm not gonna get mad at Scott and never talk to you again because you said no. It's okay. My life's gonna go on, but that also lives in the abundance mentality. How many of us are doing the work and enough activity so it doesn't matter if they say yes or no? That is part of your introduction, because if we need that sale, what do you think starts to happen?
Get desperate, your reactions are.
Commission breath. Really what it comes down to.
Plus you allow them to get away with a no decision because there's just some kind of fake hope that something might happen. And I can claim that I'm doing something because I've got this guy that's in my funnel.
Dig on that one a little bit. We hold on to this false sense of hope that that person's going to do business with us. Maybes. Where do maybes keep us?
It's stagnant.
Stuck in life. They keep us calling the same person over and over again and expecting a different result. Anybody know what that's called? Insanity. How many of us do it? How many of us are insane?
At times.
We all
That's how
do.
big it is.
But think about that too. How many times are we calling these people because it feels good? We've already talked to them, so it's comfortable. So it's hard to call new people because we don't want to be uncomfortable. So we call the same people over and over. What I encourage you to do, those people that you're thinking about right now or that you're keeping in your pipeline just because it feels good, or they might say yes, call them one more time, maybe leave the kitchen sink out there, and then put them out 3 months, 6 months, or a year, and backfill them with new people, because how's your business gonna grow? It's gonna grow from calling the same people over and over?
That's the advantage we have now today with this trickle marketing that we can do too. That we can be sending them an email every month. We don't have to deal with it. Put it over to marketing, let them, and see if they re-engage on their own. If they don't call.
giving me all these kind of things to.
I have a question about that.
Yeah.
So especially with a longer sales cycle, let's say like you call prospects and it's the point and it's clear that they're not in a buying window. So but you have a good initial conversation and you both agree on following up 3 months, 6 months down the road. How do you differentiate between, oh, those people that maybe will do business with you versus people that just aren't in buying windows?
That person agree to follow up with, or to have a call in 3 months or 6 months,
Yes.
they're different.
That's the one.
It's that simple at times.
The key is to make sure you do it. I think
Yeah.
one of the bigger mistakes I learned early on is not being persistent and doing what I said I was going to do. At the time I said I was going to do it. And that even with things like that, because yes, maybe he doesn't remember the call, but the fact that you call at that 3 months and he goes, oh yeah, that's right, we're gonna do that, shows that you are very interested in that person. Because that's one of the things that a lot of times we fail at is we stop. I have year-long sales cycles. I have a client I've been working on for 2 years that I've been working with. And we've had meetings and it has been legitimate things that he's had to do that we haven't been able to make this deal happen. But because it's that persistence that I had to learn how to do that. Because there's other times I missed opportunities because I didn't call back when I said I was going to.
I think you also have to smoke out whether if they're just putting you off or.
Exactly.
And a good question is for you, AJ. So what will be different in 3 months?
Yeah.
If I call you back in 3 months, what change should we be looking for? What should we be doing different that will indicate that things are different now, or that you're ready to do something different? Otherwise, it's just call me in 3 months. Send me information. Can you send me a brochure? Whatever else will put you off.
What are your objections? I love that question because it puts I don't want to say it puts them on the spot. The first time you ask that question, you're going to be like, that just come out of my mouth. Because you're going to say, what's going to change in 3 months? Let's say, tell me about that. Or, I got to ask, what's going to change in the next couple months? Anything? Or if you set up the call and you send them an invite and they accept it, what do you have? What if they don't accept it? Now you have hope. And those little things like that you know. So it goes back to Bill's comment, okay? If you look at the triangle on the front, there's 3 things we need to really master in our business. I'm not gonna go over this. There's 3 things we need to get really good at in our business to be a top producer. Write them on the outside of the triangle. First one is your skills. That is the triangle or the circle I just showed you, everything you do on a given day that helps you make it. On the bottom, motivation. How do we get motivated every day? How do we create the habit of motivation? Because motivation lasts for so long, doesn't it? There have been a time you don't want to make phone calls. But if we have the habit of it, we just do it. It's consistency. And your last one, this is where I'm going with Bill's, is your systems. In our business, we are only as strong as our systems and our processes. You have follow-up emails going out. If you have things like that are going out, you don't have to think about it anymore. I'll give you an example. I don't want to go over time here. I'm not a big social media guy, but I know it's the wave of the future. So instead of posting it, because in my mind I went, well, my mom and dad will laugh at me, my brother's gonna call me a whatever, and they're gonna make fun of me and blah, blah, blah. I hired a guy to do my social media for me. That is now a process and a system that I don't have to think about, and it generates revenue. You see what I mean? What in your business are you doing that is costing you time and money, that is not generating that somebody else can do? I know we're getting off track here, but that goes back to what you said. That is a system. And we don't have to think about it. It goes back to, I listened to a Kobe Bryant thing once, and he works out at 2:30 in the morning and like 4. He does 2 workouts before everybody gets up. And he said it's non-negotiable. I wrote that contract already. That is a binding contract with myself, and I'm not going to change it. There are things that you can do as a salesperson when you walk out of here as a professional. You need to make a contract with yourself and no longer waver on it. Maybe you hit snooze in the morning. How you do anything is how you do everything. If you let yourself off the hook on asking that question, guess what you're going to do next time?
Same thing.
You'll let yourself off the hook. Just start doing it. These things become a habit. Become normal. In the middle of Nick Green, all that is habits. When we create habits, how many days does it take to create a habit? We're on 28:30. How many days does it take to break that habit? 2. You can use 2. Won't work. 1 or 2.
An hour.
I get people say sometimes like 365. I'm like, you're trying really hard to break that habit. 1 day, because if you let yourself, you ever made a New Year's resolution? You ever stop doing the New Year's resolution? Because you let yourself off once, so it's okay to do it. Just do that, and it'll get easier, I promise.
I think health clubs have like 80% of the people that sign up
Oh, gosh.
yeah, for the year.
I worked at the time, that's where I started my sales career. In January, you did not get a day off. It's either January or Monday. It's so funny. You don't have to start these things on January 1st or Monday. You can walk out on a random Friday in October at 9:17 in the morning and go, you know what? I'm done. I'm making the choice to do the things that I want to be successful. I'm going to break down this wall with this belief barrier. Why can't you? There's nobody in this room that's different than anybody else. You might have to put a little more work in. You might have to start planning your calendar or take time or seek people out. Can anybody tell me this? One of the biggest things that holds us as salespeople as we get further in our career, that holds us back. Any idea?
Ourselves.
Ego. Yep. Not ego as I'm the best, but I don't want to look stupid. Ask for help. If you don't know something, seek somebody out to help you, because they will. Is there anybody in this room that would go, nah, I don't want to help you out? That's happening. We're just not wired that way. That's all it is. Seek people out. Take this is what we call it. You take the cool card out and you put that puppy on the table and you leave it right there. Because then you're open and expanding your mind to have conversation that's going to build things. So Grow VP, this is another form. If you didn't like CLASP, this is a little different nuance around it, okay? You can write this wherever you want and have a place to put it. So if we're walking in, we're having a conversation with somebody. Now, I don't know if any of us are leaders or any, this can be for teammates. This can be for people like that as well. What are your goals? If you look out a year, what do you want to accomplish? If you look back a year, 2 years, 3 years, where do you want to be? What do you want to do? Let them tell you. And then we ask, where are you at right now? What's the reality of where you're at? See the correlation here with CLASP, I'm guessing. I do this one with my teammates. Obstacles. What's standing in your way? We don't go, what are your goals? What's the reality of where you're at? What are the obstacles in your, it's how you say it. It's the vocal inflection around it as well. Lean back in your chair. Just talk to somebody, have the conversation. What's standing in your way from getting there? What are they going to tell you? Things they need help with. Well, this isn't working the way I want it to, or this isn't helping. That type of thing. Here's the payoff question, man. What if nothing changes? Now we're digging in. Now we're CPR, and this is gonna sound bad. Now we're peeing all over them. Okay, pouring that salt left and right is what we're doing. What if nothing changes? What's the vision of what you want to create? What do you want it to be? P, kind of what I talked about already, is what's the payoff? What would that payoff be for you? What's the ROI? gonna leave it at that. That's where, well, this is step 5 on this. This is answering objections before they come up. How do I know when? How do I know if? And before they come up. Know what you're gonna talk about before it's time. Know what happens before it happens. And this, again, this isn't foolproof, 100%. I'm gonna walk out of here and if everybody said yes, we'd all be billionaires. But if this closes 1 or 2 more, or whatever it is per month or per year for a longer cycle, what does that do for your business? What does that do for your livelihood? Just because you practiced a couple things and asked a couple questions that maybe you didn't ask in the past and you got out of your comfort zone a little bit. That's what that does. Okay? This is just one to follow me on Instagram. I do a lot of that stuff. So
Thanks, Brent. A couple things, couple gifts for you. Oh, one, a Starbucks gift card.
well, thank
Use
you.
immediately on your way home.
Yeah.
And you are a member of PSA.
Oh.
So, or you can give that to an associate if you want to. All right, thank you. Good to see you again. All right, thank you very much. Tremendous. Let's give him another.